So you guys saw a bunch of those videos and drawings yesterday. Today I want us to make our own animation. So I'm going to walk you through that sort of step by step using Animation Creator. So if you don't already have Animation Creator open, please do that. You can see it's that red one that you guys downloaded last week. Okay, and when you come up, just get the plus button in the top left corner. We can go 1024 by 768, which you can see right here is this one. So I'm going to go ahead and just touch that one. Okay, I now have that new animation here. I can go ahead and click that, and then come down here and tell myself to edit it. Now, if you're watching this and you haven't watched the 5 intro videos in terms of what and how to use Animation Creator HD, you should do that now, right? Stop this, go back, watch those, because I'm going to move a little bit quicker on the how-to in this region. So in the bottom right corner, way down here is this arrow, and if I push that, I get all of my sort of references, all my tools. I'm going to go and start sort of with going to a palette. I choose palette because now I can always come back to these specific colors, right? So I'm going to start out with red, okay? And I'm going to make sure my tool is a brush. Touch it again, pull up. All right, so I got brush. I'm going to come over here to stroke, and right now I don't really need stars, right? So I'm going to come over and slide all the way over and select this one. And my brush width I want to take down to about 4, right? So I've selected red as my color. I've selected the paintbrush as my tool. I've gone over to stroke size, made sure it's a circle, which should be set on you guys. Pixel width, 3 or 4 is a really good place to be. So I'm kind of ready to start. If you zoom out just a little bit with a 2-finger pinch, right, you can see, right, well, I'm going to undo that. Magic button, undo, upper right corner, upper left corner, right? You can really see that I have, an up, down, and bottom, right? So you can see the whole animation. I want to start, like we were the other day on the board, with this in the right corner. And I'm going to go ahead and draw our first protein, okay? And I'm going to go ahead and right, so you can see I've now created this first molecule, and hopefully we know what this is. Yeah, it's myosin, right? So my next molecule I'm going to draw is actin, and I'm going to draw it sort of in this light blue color. Now, before I do this is the part where you need to make sure you're paying attention, right? I need to make sure I draw this on a different layer. So I'm going to come to layers, and I'm going to add a new layer. By adding a new layer, I provide an opportunity in my animation to move a layer at a time, so I don't have to redraw stuff as much. Right? So I'm going to go ahead and draw our actin molecule. So I've now drawn that actin molecule, okay? And you can see I got binding sites here for myosin to reach out and grab. And then on another layer, maybe you can predict what you think I'm going to draw on this layer. Oh, you can see I didn't actually draw it on a different layer, right? I kind of messed up here. So I'm going to undo. I'm going to come back to this layer, right? And I'm going to delete this, right? And okay, we're going to delete it out. It doesn't look like I've deleted it, but I have. You can see the shadow in the background, and that's okay. But when I come to layers, I need to select the other layer, right? My bad. Right, so now I'm going to redraw in my actin. right? So there's my actin molecule. And now on that third layer, right, so now I've set that third layer. Now I'm going to go ahead and draw in the troponin and tropomyosin complex. I'm going to draw it in sort of dark blue, right? So it comes up, it goes behind, goes over, comes up, goes over, comes up. And so there's our tropomyosin molecule. I've zoomed in quite a bit so you can see it. And last but not least, right, and I'll keep this in the same one, I'll add in that molecule, right, of troponin. And remember, this is where the calcium is going to bind, right? So here we go. We have, our actin, we have our myosin. Okay, we're ready for our interaction. Hopefully, at this point, you can remember from yesterday, right, and think about, what's missing from this. Well, we know we have, right, this is ready to go, and we know, right, that there's an ATP molecule, right? So I'll add one down here, right? That's not going to be quite big enough to see. So there's let me change my pixels maybe to a little bit lower pixel width, and perhaps ATP, right? So there's ATP attached to this one, and there'd be ATP attached to this one, right? And I put it on a different, doesn't matter what, I'm going to eventually get rid of that. All right. And think about sort of the context in terms of where this is in the muscle. And so I'm going to add just a fourth layer, and make sure I click over to it. And this whole thing is happening within the muscle cell, right? So if I go ahead and draw in a muscle, I'll use this sort of dark red, right? And I draw in a muscle cell. Go ahead and undo just for a second. I want to get a little thicker brush. That this, muscle cell, it has a cell membrane. It's got these T tubules that come down, cell membrane, right? And there might be another one, right? And so this is the muscle cell membrane, right? This is called the sarcolemma. Sarcolemma, right? So this sarcolemma, right, is the muscle cell membrane that we talked about in yesterday's video, right? And the question is, so how do we make muscles actually go, right? And what's neat is I'll draw in this nerve. Okay, so we have this motor neuron, right? This is actually a neuron. And I'll draw it up top. I drew it green, okay? And we talked about the idea that when we get done with this, we're gonna have this open animation, right, of all this happening, right? So I got that on my layer. I got everything kind of set, right? The only thing I'm really missing, right, is something called the sarcoplasmic reticulum. I'll draw it in dark yellow, right? So we have this I'll zoom in a little bit, this sarcoplasmic reticulum, right? And hopefully right now you're thinking, oh, I know it goes in the sarcoplasmic reticulum. You are right, it is a bunch of calcium. So these yellow dots, right, are going to represent calcium, right? So I'll zoom in over here. Like, oh, look, this is in fact calcium. Right, so we are all set up. We have our muscle cells set up, we have our myosin, we have our actin. So what's the next stage? And so this is one slide. You look down here, we have just one slide. Not much of an animation with one slide, right? We need lots of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to create this animation, right, at the beginning. So I'm going to go ahead and hit duplicate. So down here, I'm going to duplicate this slide. Duplicate. I'm going to duplicate it again. Duplicate, 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 until I have 5, right? That's going to give me, a few seconds of just having plain old still images at the start of my animation, right? So then, right, the next thing to happen is I want to show that this neuron is going to fire. So I'm just going to do it by simply, well, mine didn't go all the way up, so that's a bad idea. All right, so I'm going to start by saying, look, here comes this electrical signal, right, that comes down. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to duplicate it again. And these arrows then are going to represent sort of this electrical signal coming down this neuron. Right? So you can see over and over again this electrical signal. This electrical signal. Now this is the piece where we're going to learn sort of a new thing that happens. So when electrical signals get to the end of a motor neuron, right, we actually get the release of something called acetylcholine, right? And we're going to talk about this as ACH, right? Acetylcholine, okay, called ACH. And when this electrical signal, right, comes down, now notice every time I drew an arrow, I hit duplicate. Sorry, I didn't mention that probably. But every time I hit an arrow, I came down and hit duplicate. So now when I go back, right, if I go back and then I go forward, 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 right, those get added in an animated kind of way. And when this electrical signal reaches the end of the neuron, right, there are little bundles of acetylcholine here. Okay, I'm going to hit duplicate, right, and duplicate. And these, right, get released into the gap called the synapse. Talked about it yesterday. So what I'm going to do is just erase and duplicate. Just erase a little bit here, right? So it kind of looks like it opens up. And as it opens up, I hit duplicate, right? I'm now going to have this release of acetylcholine that comes out into here, right? So this, right? And I'm going to hit duplicate again and duplicate and duplicate, right? And duplicate, right? So it looks like the tons are kind of pouring out. What happens is this acetylcholine, right? And these, we'll pop this up here. These are called neurotransmitters, right? And these neurotransmitters then allow us to communicate from one cell to the other cell, because we actually left the cell, right? It's electrical when it's in here, right? But then it becomes a chemical signal over here with a neurotransmitter. Now these are going to bind over here, and it's going to cause this part of the neuron to then sort of be excited to go, and it's going to actually send an electrical signal down this part of the membrane as well. And so then we can represent that. I'll go back and use the green arrows. That once that happens, and again, I'm going to duplicate and duplicate, right? That this signal then will travel, duplicate, 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 right? This is going to spread all over the cell, right? And as it spreads all over the cell, right, this sarcoplasmic reticulum, I'll duplicate again, this sarcoplasmic reticulum is going to receive this signal, right, and it's going to release the calcium. So I'm going to come up here, right, again, I'm on my sarcoplasmic reticulum 1, I'm going to grab my eraser, and what ends up happening is these little pores, right, appear in the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Duplicate, duplicate, and when that happens, right, the calcium, get out of the eraser, the calcium, right, leaves, duplicate, 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 right? So all this calcium has now left the sarcoplasmic reticulum. And where is that going to bind? Well, we know that calcium is going to bind to these purple molecules called troponin. And so the moment they do, we're going to have them all kind of going to bind. I'm going to duplicate. I'm going to duplicate, 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 right? So now I have this done, right? Now that that's done, I'm going to switch back over to my layer that has just as you can see, this layer has just the tropomyosin troponin on it, right? And if I take this tool and I hit the movement one, which is this one, everybody look up here, it's this one, right? If I do that, right, and I just tick and hold, I can slide it out of the way and hit duplicate, and then slide it out of the way. Now, if you just touch it, it creates a point of pivot, and so bad things, weird things happen. So don't do that. right? I'm going to undo, right? Instead, what you want to do is, again, duplicate, but you want to hold and slide, right? And duplicate and hold and slide, duplicate, hold and slide. So it looks like most of my binding sites are now open, right? Didn't do it perfectly, but that one's open, this one's open, this one's open. So if I hit duplicate again and duplicate again, now all of a sudden my myosin, right, has a place to bind. So if I come back, I'm going to come back to this one because I think that's where I need to erase um, my ATP. Oops. Undo. Nope. Where did I have ATP written? Let's take a look. On this slide. So I can erase the ATP just so it's not in the way. Alright, so move that out of the way. We're all set. Now, my myosin, right, into my myosin layer, right, is able to, as I hit duplicate, come up, right, and bind, right, and as it does, we come back to here, and I'm actually going to, oh, this will be exciting. I think I can do this. So we're going to take and hide that one and hide this one, because what I want is to be able to merge visible. So all I did was combine these two layers together, so now they'll move together, right? And now if I come back to layers and I want to see all of them, if I select that, I can now move that, but I want this to move as well, don't I? That's going to move to it. Duplicate, right? And then move, and move, right? And so now I've duplicated. Now I have 47. Let's see what it looks like. I'm going to slow it way down, the speed. Slow it way down to like 2 frames a second, right? So the whole thing is now going to happen pretty quick, right? So there's the electrical signal coming down. Acetylcholine gets released. It binds. It causes another electrical signal on the muscle cell. All of a sudden, that causes the sarcoplasmic reticulum to let go of the calcium. Moves the tropomyosin out of the way. Now the myosin can bind, and it can pull the actin and across, and you get your muscle contraction. If you need to watch this again, then go ahead and do that until you can get this done. Tomorrow, when I come back, we'll kind of watch these, walk through them, and make any corrections we need to. Good luck.